Okay, we're not in peak bull run yet, I would say, even though Bitcoin is ripping, but taking the pulse on some of the stuff that's going on out there. We've got extreme meme coins, stuff that I never thought I'd see, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised about anything. Rusty, this one was something that caught your eye. We've got a guy, he's sitting on a toilet until his coin hits a certain target market cap, and there's all kinds of other stuff like this, right? Fill us in. What's happening here?
Yeah, it's a combination of things he's trying to accomplish. He wants his coin to, of course, rise, and he's also, I guess, trying to break the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest amount of time you can be on the toilet. And there's been a trend of this going around lately on the internet, and I think it's called meme coins and TikTok trying to combine themselves, where people are now trying to live stream while pumping a coin just to try to induce the FOMO even more. People like trying to get involved in the storyline or getting involved in what they're going to do in order to make the coin rise. I saw a couple other ones where they get into even weirder behavior where they just try to lock themselves into cages and act like dogs and other things. It's getting really out of hand. I've seen a couple different posts online about it, and I thought it'd be a good thing we could discuss today.
Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised about anything that happens on the internet, but it's one of the thing that caught my eye that happened recently was the Quant kid who was rugged his coin, and then there was what, a CTO. They took it over and then like tried to shame him because they pumped it up super high. That was another one, right? That happened recently.
Yeah,
Quant.
the quaint token. I think that was by I think either a 10 or a 12-year-old kid, and they ended up like completely doxing his entire family. Like they doxed his mom, they doxed his sister, and then pump.fun started going crazy with it, and they started making tokens off of everybody in his family. And what they did is, like you're saying, that when he created this coin, he created on pump.fun and ran it up, and then dumped on everybody for about $30,000. Well, they took it over with a CTO and then repumped the coin up even more to where his original tokens would have been worth, I think it was almost $1 million. They, of course, would never been able to get that money out of it and actually liquidate it. But on paper, on the internet, it looked like his original token amounts would have been about $1 million.
And then we got this guy talking about what the other coins were. We've got hostage situations too, right? This guy was saying that somebody was holding a gun to a goldfish and then to some other human in the other room or his whole family or whatever. So we've got some extreme behavior going on here.
I saw the gun to the goldfish. I think this guy might just actually I didn't watch this whole video. Yeah, but it's going back to the quant fund with that a kid rugged at 35K and then a community takeover to run it up to $1 million. Do you think that the people who were jumping into the $1 million run up, do they realize they were losing, they were basically going to lose all their money that they were pumping into it? Is that the price of saying "I told you so" or teaching somebody a lesson on the internet now, or do you think they were
I think
oblivious?
it's just launching into attention. Honestly, I mean, this whole attention economy, and these things. How real they are, who knows? But it's definitely performance art. I mean, this is this is what it takes to get the attention of the world. You gotta do something interesting and extreme, and then that's what gets your token noticed. I mean, what else is there to a meme coin other than getting attention? So if you can do something that's extreme, what there was this other one too, right, where the guy was in setting his couch on fire because he lost so much money. What was going on with this one? This is
I don't
nuts.
know. I don't know if there was a coin with that, but this was in the vein of one of these meme coin holdups. Um, I don't know. I don't understand what people do. I don't understand like why anyone would do this, but um, people, I mean, I'm captivated. I'm captivated as he's seen it. I watched before. Um, Like I look at also the meme coin association with this and say, you know, is this another aspect of decentralization? Have we de oh, look at that. There it goes. Goodness. Have
When I
we
look, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I look at this video, like the thing that pops out to me is like it only has 2,000 views on the bottom there. And like this guy's like making this big old scene, lighting up his couch for 2,000 views. Like that is nothing in views. Like why go through so much extreme just for your little 15 minutes of fame? If that, 15 seconds of fame.
Well,
Yeah,
I
what
guess
happened?
you never really know what's gonna hit. I guess, you know, like maybe he thought it was gonna do better.
Well, what was he what I mean, did he have the fire department outside his apartment, or was somebody waiting in the wings with a fire extinguisher? These so it just it's crazy and destructive. Is this what the internet brings to our lives? I don't know. There's got to be a better side, but here we are watching man say, oh, and this one uh
See, to me, this is performance art. I mean, this is like this is no different than a guy out there on the street, you know, playing the violin. It's you're trying to get some attention, you're trying to get a few tips, but this is the extreme version of this. This is what we've got. The meme coin craze. It's going to get crazier.
meme coin busking. And I mean, yes, it is performance art. It is one great performance, but
I mean, look at the people in that in and out. Like they're not even paying attention. It's like
I
most of the people
know.
are just like, ah, whatever. Who gives a shit?
I know, and then you put it on the internet. You put it in the fake world of tiny video feeds and 10-second attention, and all of a sudden somebody thinks it's worth throwing $20 at. I guess there's enough people out there throwing $20 at it. Maybe it is worth it, but
And Rusty, this is all Solana stuff, right? I mean, we're firmly out of the world of Ethereum right now, right? These are all Sol tokens on pump.fun mostly.
For the majority of them, yeah, they're easy to make, they're easy to create. Anybody can do it. You don't really need very much to start them up, and then once you start them up, you just need somebody else to get into it. I mean, anybody can create a coin on pump.fun.
he got busted by the manager right there. I don't know if you saw that, but shows that. Oh, look, there he's coming right now. Now, of course, this is on Solana. There's no gas fees. It costs them nothing to do this. They get to stream this on platforms. Some platforms dedicated to it. TikTok. What's that other three streaming on Twitch? So maybe we're missing out. Maybe we should be doing something a little more zany and begging for money. And somebody's going to show up with a golden toilet now and go for the new world record on sitting on a toilet.
Well, you pick your niche, whatever it is that you think you can come up with. In some ways, I applaud people for you know, finding some way to gain the attention of the world. I mean, this is not easy in this day and age, for sure. It's like some of the things that are happening, but they certainly don't condone some of the behavior. But the creativity is out there for sure, and it seems like crypto is providing the rails for other people to get in there and vote on it. In some ways, how is this really that different from our favorite thing that we've pointed out a few times, just the poly market, right? I mean, is a meme coin really that much different from placing a bet on Polymarket? It feels very similar. It's somehow a way to get in on the monetization of something when it's trading at a certain value.
Well,
But I got to
I do
imagine
like
that
the
most people are just bag holding on these things. I think I saw some statistics that say that if you've made any money on a meme coin, you're in like the 0.01%, that most people just lose money on this stuff.
yeah, literally the new slot machines, or maybe even worse. No, I think again, I like the decentralization aspect of monetization. You know, it's nice, but the attention side is is pretty desperate. It will be more interesting to see the likes of, because we've also seen some stars, some uh, athletes too who've tied their name to a meme coin, but aren't throwing anything back. It'll be interesting if Greta Thunberg actually puts out a coin and it is a method for her to devote to one of her causes, or if people begin using it not just to get rich and flee the stage, but use it to channel something.
Well, it's similar to what was going on with Mr. Beast. I mean, Mr. Beast was doing, I would say, it's structurally the same thing as what's happening here. He was going out there doing some extreme kind of video, promising rewards to people that they were, be participating in, but maybe even less winners in Mr. Beast, because that was fake. The people that were winning were all hand selected by him, and so they were essentially just engagement farming and click and view farming, something that most people couldn't even participate in. But with a meme coin, I don't know, I guess maybe you do get the chance to participate better and more
Wasn't Mr.
democratically.
wasn't Mr. Beast shut down by the SEC, or didn't he get a Wells notice?
That I don't know. I didn't hear about a Wells notice, but I knew that there was investigations going on and saying that those were illegal lotteries because they weren't according to the rules. And then there was a bunch of other stuff that happened, but I didn't hear about a Wells notice. Let me take a look. I'll see if I can find it.
Take a look. I think what we are going to inevitably see in the future is a shifting of I don't know, thresholds or norms. Because we're going the one we are Gary Gensler is resigning. I don't know if we've covered that. The regulatory structure is going to be changing in some way, because what can they do whenever they could stand next to the halls of exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, the places where money actually physically pooled. They could exert more control over what's going on, but cat might be out of the bag with regards to people playing games with money. And I think that the SEC hopefully remembers that they are about enforcing disclosure, and maybe like leans towards being a rating, a government rating of securities, rather than expecting to just clamp down on any busker that's got a bowl or a hat out on the street and is looking to I mean, does the SEC care if 2 million people put $50 in a busker's hat? They might if they could, they might care about that. And I don't know if we want to see that happen.
I think that with the departure of Gary Gensler, we're going to see a differing stance on what's going to happen with crypto. I think certainly these meme coins, the guy sitting on a toilet, there's no way that that is a security. I mean, come on. There's no realistic worldview that could consider that a security. But, something like ApeCoin and the entire ape infrastructure, where they were promising all kinds of different things. I mean, that's a slightly different beast. I think there's got to be some real rules that come out of all of this stuff, honestly, to get some clarity around this. I don't think the Howey test is sufficient to give us clarity on what you can and can't do, or what rises to the level of crossing the line and making it a security. I think there's certainly some amount of stuff that broaches that you could use the crypto infrastructure to do. But actually, I think that's one of the more exciting things about crypto, is that it enables these kinds of things. I mean, can you imagine what it would take to do something like what ApeCoin did without having the crypto infrastructure to pull it off? I mean, I think that's somewhat exciting, and I think it's also somewhat exciting that these meme coins can exist or that this kind of stuff can happen at all. It proves that there's this decentralization aspect to how the world works now, and I can't imagine 20 years ago how you could have imagined doing something like this. Like, you could have done some funny videos, but you certainly couldn't have gotten rich doing it, and couldn't have had other people participate in getting rich at the same time because you're sitting on a toilet for a month. Like, how do you monetize that? Even if you had that idea, I'm going to sit on the toilet for a month. Like, what's it going to get you? What's the point? But now you can make millions of dollars by doing it.
Do you remember what in maybe the late 90s, whenever somebody was living in a window display room on in front of some boutique somewhere? It kind of reminds me of that sort of antic, but again, monetizing it in a different way. The SEC, there's other regulatory bodies that try to clamp down on abuses of money. We talked the other day about what utility is MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor bringing. Maybe we move to a world where utility no longer matters. I mean,
Well, hold on. I don't think MicroStrategy fits in with this. We probably need to do a whole show on MicroStrategy.
Well, I just bring it up. I've seen more fingers pointed at, like, what's going on here. But you mentioned Polymarket. I mentioned slot machines earlier. There was a time whenever entire states lived without any sort of gambling, and we've opened up sports gambling. A lot of states now have lottos. I don't know how many states actually have legalized gambling, but
whatever happened to the Puritan ethos that existed in America? I mean, we used to be pretty starched shirt and stuffy. Like, all of a sudden, this rapidly got out of control. That I remember there were lots of discussions about the slippery slope. It certainly seems like the people that warned about the slippery slope seems like they were vindicated in all of this. I mean, can you imagine going back to 1950 or 1970 and telling people what the world of 2024 was going to look like some 50 to 70 years later? Everybody's gambling, sitting on the toilet for multiple months.
Yeah, it's as Beaver is telling his parents at their graveside what's going on in the world today. I'm sure they're all horrified. But I would rather live in a world where you can have fun and you can waste some money, and you get away from this notion of Puritan work ethic. Even the Puritans didn't have weren't the only viewpoint of America whenever they landed on Plymouth Rock. So maybe crypto is bringing us back to bringing us closer to our true nature than the rules-based order that we lived under since the Puritans, and especially in the 50s and in the Soviet, we got to beat the Soviets sort of era that we had to go through.
Yeah, but shockingly, it was probably the Amish that helped usher this in, right?
Well, even the Amish changing. I mean,
I'm mentioning the Amish because, I mean, in this election cycle, I think it was postulated or that said Pennsylvania was taken home because that guy got out and registered all the Amish to vote, right?
Absolutely, which had to go back to the state of Pennsylvania trying to shut down some of the raw and local food. There was a big bust. The government's letting people steal money while sitting on a toilet, and meanwhile going around to try to flex their muscle on the things that they can control. They need to take a note and maybe relax and let commerce happen. Let Americans engage in contract, like we all believe that we can.
Yeah, I think they got even more extreme with just the milk. Didn't they go in and they seized a bunch of packaged meat and all kinds of stuff? Like
a ton of food. And did you happen to see X post that was North Carolina, almost want to say the neck, North Caca, whatever, the North Carolina county that sent a warning out to people who were living in homes that were built by the Amish. There was a bunch of Amish took a road trip to the flood devastated areas in North Carolina and built a bunch of small homes for people so that they could have something to live in rather than a tent in their yard. And the county inspector sent out notices to all of them that they needed to come in and apply for a building inspector to assure that the buildings met code. Unbelievable.
Well, there's some extremes for sure. We've got the Amish out there engaging in practices that they've done traditionally for a long time, failing to comply with USDA regulations, which arguably are kind of out of control, allowing for certain types of things in food that really shouldn't be there. And then you've got the Amish who are out there doing things in a traditional way and getting raided. Homes that were built by people that know how to build a home and saying that they don't pass code, even though there's arguably nothing else to live in. I mean, this is kind of a wild world we live in.
You know, I'm fine. I'm fine with, I don't mind the government saying there should be some threshold of expectation for that they put their sign of approval on. But why do we make the leap to, oh, uh, they get to deny anything else to exist? And we do this in drugs. We do this we've allowed this in houses. We've allowed this in food. We have all these government bureaucracies that were started with the notion of we need to educate the people of America, and after they spend a couple of years educating, all of a sudden they say, oh, and well, if we've decided something is bad, why don't we get a right of rule that they can't do that? I don't think that is in line with American values or understandings of freedom and liberty. So maybe crypto will force their hand. Maybe children burning their apartments and sitting on a toilet to draw meme coins will force this issue more quickly to come around.
What do you know about this Mark Iuta guy that's supposedly?
Mark Iuta, is he the oh yeah, Trump's potential pick for SEC chair? There were two members of the SEC commissioners, two of the commissioners who were somewhat outspoken and in with concerns about the enforcement by or the rules by enforcement tack that the SEC had taken under Gensler. And those were Hester Pierce and Mark Iuta. But I, I'm more familiar with Hester Pierce because she's more outspoken with regards to, she wrote a couple of strongly worded letters that were lamenting the tack that the SEC were taking, especially since the XRP Torres decision. Or the SEC versus Ripple decision by Judge Torres. She wrote a letter in the immediate wake of that, and Mark Iuta signed onto it. But I haven't heard much of him, and I would have hoped that they would have been even more strident, or the other commissioners, about what was going on, because it was blatantly it was blatantly I don't even know what to call it. The positions of the government were not honest, were not earnest, and any commissioner that was engaging in that and not in a more strident revolt, I don't have that much faith in. So I guess he's a step in the right direction, but we should probably expect more overreach and than a fundamental change in the SEC. I hadn't seen that he was floated. I had wondered if he or Hester Pierce would be floated as the new director. But I don't know. Not that much better would be my assumption.
Because this isn't a cabinet pick. This is a top level administrator within one of the organizations, right? So do you know when this stuff starts to trickle down? When do they start making announcements at this level, or does this only happen after the administration actually comes in, because it's not part of the congressional approval process, and it's not part of the actual transition process?
You know, I don't know if this reaches the level of requiring congressional. I kind of raise my eyebrow.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I don't think that this is
Does it
required.
not?
No, I
Well,
don't think so, 'cause it's not part of the cabinet, so it's not part of the immediate executive. I think it's downstream. So I think the SEC probably reports into one of the cabinet level picks.
well, I know that I saw that Gary Gensler was resigning on January 20th. So,
Yeah, I think I had that on the screen for a second.
oh, did you?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
right here. Yeah, I actually got
Oh,
that.
look at that. Yeah. So to depart the agency on January 20th, you know, perhaps they've already made the offer to Mark Ueda.
I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out, because Gensler's got a whole bunch of stuff in the hopper, and he's got all kinds of enforcement actions out there. So what are they going to do? Just go in and like cancel all of them? What's really going to go on here?
I really, well, I I wonder what the future of the SEC is, because some of the problems of the bureaucracies, and it's also going to be interesting to see how Vivek and Elon's Department of Government Efficiency plays into this, because in some ways, once a bureaucracy goes down the path of creating rules, then they create more and more rules and more watchdogs. If the SEC is merely putting a label on some securities as this has the approval of the government, the SEC has looked at the levels of disclosure and the things that this company or this person is disclosing about the security that they offer, and we find that it meets a certain threshold. We've done some of your due diligence. um, they might not need nearly as many employees. And I think that's the position that the SEC could be serving and would be a benefit to consumers. But uh, whenever they start engaging in the business of preventing or removing people from the market, players from the market, I think that the benefit that they provide shifts um, to institutions who can afford to manipulate or play their game. So I don't know what it would take to change their mission to one that's not of enforcement. But it if there's ever been a time whenever it could change, I think now is that time. So I don't know enough about Mark Ueda. um, but I do, we have seen that this enforcement has been a problem, and it's again like crypto, the decentralized nature of crypto, and also lowering the entry cost into investment for so many people have sort of laid bare the problems of the eyes of regulators, and the rules of regulators being captured by some players who've already played the game before. I don't know. We'll put it in Elon's hands.
Well, with respect to the Department of Governmental Efficiency, so they've tried to clarify exactly what those guys are going to be doing, and they said that they're going to be operating in an advisory role. And some have said that operating in an advisory role means that they don't have that much teeth. I'm curious about that. I think that they might actually have a bit more teeth than people might expect, because if they start making a bunch of recommendations and then Trump gets serious about wanting to make cuts, I mean, he has pretty wide latitude on what he can do
Well,
with the executive branch, right?
well, the advisory role is important, but the place at which firings and cuts happens is one in Congress, with the funding.
Well, wait, I mean, as far as cuts go, like they can just decide not to spend the money, right? I mean,
Well,
they
well,
can't get more money. That's usually been the thing that government has wanted to do, was to get more money. But like, what world do we live in where the departments would be returning the money to Congress and saying, "Hey, we don't want the money. We
well,
want to make it
Congress
smaller."
Congress shouldn't be giving them money to begin with.
Right,
Like,
but we're not in that world. I mean, they've got the budget. They have a certain allocation for what they're expected to do. The budget's set.
well, I don't know. We do have a couple of budget fights that are coming. Republicans talk a big game about.
That's always increasing the budget. I mean, in what administration have we ever been in where they like said that they wanted to return 60 to 70% of the money that's been allocated to them? I think that's usually what happens, is nobody wants to have any reduction in their budget, so they always try and scramble to spend every penny they've got and then say, well, it wasn't enough, so that they can get more. I mean, that's typically been what's happened.
Well, this is why, we live in a new world where we now have alternative monies, rails, um, that under that give us an option to begin to understand, that we don't have to use the dollar. I mean, if Americans are looking at the amount of dollars that are being created, the debt level of the United States, and large numbers of Americans start moving into Bitcoin or into any other currency that they can, this is a huge problem for the government. And at that point, they better start getting serious about, I don't know, fiscal responsibility and monetary responsibility, or and a monetary policy that it's not that is not based on magically creating whatever number that they had before. This is where we create so much money in the United States, and it's unnecessary. Um, so I, I there's also the office, the what is it, the OMB, the Office of Money and Budgeting. I think that's where the firings could, maybe we're going to see more coming out of there. I'm not sure exactly how the bureaucracies of the government work, but I do know, um, it's the general structure of governments to have somebody making recommendations, and but the firings go down to the holder of the purse. So, Congress should understand that and stop, and stop, just giving uh, stop nodding and giving assent to whatever budgets are supplied to them by these different agencies. And maybe Vivek and Elon can, I don't know. I worry that we put our faith in them to be able to cut government, quote unquote, like Javier Milei. But uh, we've had Republican houses and senates before that just rubber stamped larger and larger spending bills, and didn't curtail the budget. It was Bill Clinton, a Democrat, who actually balanced the budget.
Well, I think there have been very few administrations that have come in with the auspice that they wanted to significantly reduce government spending, and we're very serious about that. I think that the Republicans have paid lip service to this stuff and having these kinds of things, but then, immediately will turn around, spend exorbitant amounts on military, all different kinds of things. So, I, the fact that we've got a significant political outsider and a cadre of political outsiders that are coming in here to ostensibly do what they said they're going to do. It'll be interesting to see if they do it, if they actually
Well,
follow through on it.
And we saw last week, and I hadn't been paying as much attention to it. I saw it in a the fury raised by the Cardano community that that Wyoming was establishing a stable coin, and Cardano was not in the runners of blockchains that it was going to be based on, which is I was surprised at that aspect of it, but I was more surprised to finally see states that were also moving to make their own money. And in the comments of the post, I saw some people who are like, "Why does Wyoming need a stable coin?" Um, all the states are going to be looking at money. All the states are going to be looking at $34 trillion, and
What did you look into this at all? What is Wyoming hoping to accomplish with this coin? They're not doing an extreme coin. No one's sitting on the toilet there, right?
well, so
Or is Wyoming sitting? What is their plan here?
Wyoming's sitting on a ceiling fan. Some people say, why does Wyoming have 700,000 people in it? Why does it have such a low population? And I say, go there in the winter and you'll find out. It's cold and it's very windy. But maybe that's changing. No, why are states looking for their own currencies? Because governments should all have their own currencies. Part of the way that the government has taken
Yeah, but
over,
this is a US dollar backed one. I mean, what is the point of this? It seems
it's a start.
it's a
And
start.
we
Oh, I
also,
see. This is the slippery slope of everybody
well,
rejecting the dollar,
this
and
is
Wyoming's leading the charge here.
I mean, having their own stable coin that's backed in dollars, it gives them a rate to begin to manipulate or to get off of the dollar, and it
I'm
could be
not going to
back.
be excited about the Wyoming stablecoin until I see a guy in Wyoming, a Wyoming senator, sitting on the toilet for months on end. This is the only thing that's going to get me excited about the Wyoming stablecoin. If they're going
I
to play in this space, they got to be ready to bring their A game. I'm not seeing any A game yet. I see.
I think if there was a state that was going to have some leadership that did it, it would be Wyoming. They are a brassy.
This is Cynthia Loomis's home state, right? Isn't it?
It's Cynthia Loomis. I forget. It's Larry or
All right, Rusty,
the
we're gonna throw it on the gauntlet here, like right on this show. If Cynthia Loomis doesn't sit on the toilet, nobody's going
you
to
know
get involved in this stable coin.
their other senator was the one that confronted the head. I forget her name, but the head of the Secret Service in the wake of the first Trump assassination attempt, at the Republican National Convention. I don't know if you saw that video, but like, not only confronted him but followed her around yelling at her. It- Wyoming cut from the western states, but especially Wyoming, cut from a little different cloth. But going back to state stable coins, or state monies, the way that the government has really moved states under its thumb came in the wake of creating their own money, creating the dollar and the national banking system. And when they did so, they could suddenly force, in a way that they didn't have to send the military, but they could stop funding or restart funding. Well, part of the breakdown of the inflation that is occurring in the dollar is especially states, the largest institutions underneath that, beginning to question that pile of money and saying, well, if they're going to just magically create more money instead of dole out fairness, or uh, as we fought for in Congress, then we need to have our own currency. And when we also look at Trump moving from paying for the government, but from income of the workers, the income tax associated with the dollar, because think again how this works with the SEC. You can have a whole bunch of people sitting around and doing nothing with massive salaries and paying tax back. um, that may be fair, more fair in New York City and Washington, D.C., not so fair in Wyoming, where people have very different types of jobs. And so Wyoming's going to be 100% for moving towards tariffs and towards changing the way that the federal government is paid for. And in the meantime, they can be jumping on this technology and giving the citizens of Wyoming and the state of Wyoming an option besides just complaining about it next to the fountain of dollars in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, states that are producing and exporting, I think, will have a much different take on tariffs than people who are consuming mostly goods imported from foreign countries, especially technology or other things like that. So it'll be interesting to see the way that we see different states lining up as far as their positions, if they're mostly producing states that are exporting to Europe or whatever. And it could also significantly change the landscape as far as there have been a lot of American products that aren't even allowed in other countries because of the way it's being grown, packaged, or produced, or additives that are in there, right? I think the use of glyphosate and Roundup that's banned in Europe. You can't even export certain types of products that are produced in the United States because of the way that we've allowed them to be produced.
Well, hopefully we start to see a change in that too. Part of the problem that we see here has to do with the velocity of money, and going to having an income tax or transaction taxes to fund your government when the velocity of money or the amount of times it's been passed around is a lot higher, and it's a lot higher in urban areas. You think about how many times a dollar would get exchanged in a city of 9 million people versus a town of 30 people. Town of 30 people, it might go sit under a mattress for 40 years. And in a city of 9 million people, it might get passed around 10 or 15 times in a single day. And so we're going to see again, crypto gives us or lowers is a technology that gives us access to begin to account for the different velocities of transactions. And part of the glyphosate problem or the additive problems that we've had are rural areas or sectors that are bound to a lower velocity trying to keep up and to keep up with a high service based economy. So we have a new future coming. I hope that the people in our government understand those things, and usually they do. But sometimes with their wealth of knowledge, they double down on broken systems. So I hope we don't see any more doubling down on broken systems, which is part of the explosion in the number of dollars that we've had and in our debt. But we're well over. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add or any more shit coins that you want to plug.
Not today. I think it was a great discussion. We'll catch you tomorrow on FOMO.
All right, see you tomorrow.